Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm the Book Geek, also known as Kiava, and today I'm coming to you with a bit of a crazy reading wrap up. I'll explain everything in a second. So I've discovered that I am a bit of a slacker when it comes to my reading wrap ups. I tend to post my TBRs and then never come back to let you guys know what books I actually completed from those TBRs and or what I thought of those books. I recently bought some new shelves for my bedroom and I've been rearranging my books. And so that's what prompted me to make this long overdue video, because today I'm going to do a reading wrap up of books that I've read in 2024, 2023, and 2022. I know, don't judge me. This will be part one of this video, and this will only be the physical books that I had stored, a shit ton of books that I set aside to go back to do reading wrap-ups for. They have been sitting in that box just collecting dust, waiting for me to record a reading wrap-up video for them for years. 2024, 2023, 2022. They're all mixed in there together. So this part of the video won't include any books that I don't physically own or any books that I strictly read through audio that I also do not own. I'll have to gather up the rest of the books. So this is just going to be a quick run through of these books because it's way too many and it's been so long since I've read any of these books that I just kind of want to just speed through these. This will be a sort of stat video. It won't include all the stats because this is not all the books. So with that being said, let's get started. All right, well, the total amount of books read strictly for this pile were 83 and one DNF. The DNF was Goliath by Tochi Anabuchi. I tried to physically read this book. I couldn't get into it. I just didn't jive with the writing style. So I thought listening to the audio might help me, and I still just could not get into this book. I made it about 113 pages in before I finally gave up. Now, I do want to try and reread this at some point, but I have no clue when. It is not a top priority for me. Pages read, we're not going to discuss because, like I said, these books come from multiple different years, and this is not all of them. So maybe when I get to the final video, I can compile all the page numbers, the page count. Okay, and the oldest book from this pile is Frankenstein, and the most recently published book from this pile is The Exorcist House Part 2 Genesis by Nick Roberts. This one was published in 2024. I believe there's one other book in this pile that was also published in 2024, but this was the latest one. As far as format is concerned, I read 59 books physically. I read one book strictly audio. 23 books I read as a mixture of both. Some genres included in this pile are thriller, historical fiction, contemporary/realistic fiction, memoirs, sci-fi fantasy, horror, and children's picture books. My most read genre was horror, of course, coming in with 29 books. Besides horror, my next highest genre read is sci-fi fantasy and thriller. As far as my star ratings are concerned, I will do that at another time once I've compiled all the books. I can, however, pick out some of my favorite books from this pile. So some of my favorites from this pile includes Frankenstein. I already gave you a preview of this one a little bit when I told you that I love this book. I mean, everyone knows the story of Frankenstein. You have scientist Victor Frankenstein who created this monster, and it's very much a story about nature versus nurture. Also, The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. This was my first time reading it as an adult. I read this one when I was a young adult, maybe even a teenager. And it was interesting reading it from an adult's perspective. And if you don't know, this is a story about a young Black girl who has beauty issues, basically. This is a book about beauty standards in the Black community. She's made fun of for her dark skin, and so she wishes to look more like a white person. It's a story of conformity, and it's an issue that still affects the Black community. I mean, I had a student who hated her hair. She would always praise the white girls, the white students' hair, and then put down not only her own hair, but other Black students' hair, because she had this hate inside of her. And I kind of like just poured my heart out to her. Like, I mean, tears, pouring my heart out to her, trying to get her to see that you don't need to look like that to be considered beautiful. And I think finally it got through to her, because when she came back after summer break, she was wearing her natural hair. She wasn't like covering her hair up with her hood all the time. And so it is a real big issue in the Black community. When I was young, most of my friends were Jamaican or Caribbean, somewhere from over in the islands. One thing I noticed with their culture, it's not too separate from Black culture or whatever, but I noticed that skin color was a real big issue with them as well. Some West Indians or Caribbean people will actually bleach their skin to become lighter toned. So it's very interesting and very powerful story about a real issue that still exists today. And it's because of, the way in which society perpetuates this hate against Black people. And if you don't speak confidence and love into your children, and they grow up with this self-hate, and it gets passed along from generation to generation, and it's all part of this white supremacy plan to make Black people hate themselves and corrupt their minds. And it's a whole big conspiracy, which is why this book is a banned book. Pretty much. Toni Morrison is a genius, and her writing is so beautiful and poignant and just wonderful. Next up, I have The Last Quintista. Now, I want to say maybe 2023 or 2022, I started a children's book club. It was like a one and done type of thing. I might start it back up again. My adult book club is still running, but my children's book club is not running anymore. I work at an elementary school, and that summer, before school got out, I passed out permission slips and to see if any kids wanted to join my middle grade book club. And I did have a handful of kids that did join. And this was the book that we read, The Last Quintista. This book was so powerful. Even some of the parents was like, whoa, what are you guys reading? Because some of the kids were like listening to the book, listening to the audio during like their car rides and whatnot. And even the parents were into this book. So in this story, there's some sort of calamity that's about to destroy the earth. I can't remember if it's like a comet or an asteroid or what have you. And a select few of people, they get on these spaceships, they go out into space. But the people who are manning these ships and are in control of this evacuation decide that while these people are, I guess they were placed like, oh, what's the word? I can't remember the word. But they were put to sleep, basically, I guess, for this trip. They decided that they were going to erase everyone's memories and program them with new thoughts, new memories, brainwash them basically, because they thought that they could start anew. So basically what happens in this story is that these people wanted to start a new society, a more positive society, but in doing so, they became the thing that they feared most, the thing that they was trying to prevent, because it ended up going on for years and years and years. And eventually they forgot why they started that in the first place. And this is also a story about history. The main character's grandmother in the story always like ingrained in her granddaughter's head the importance of storytelling, the importance of stories and histories. And our main character is the only girl whose memory does not get erased. So she has all these stories and histories of Earth still inside of her and no one else remembers. And it was just so heartbreakingly beautiful. This is a very powerful middle grade story. I think everyone should read this. It was beautiful. Next up, I have Ring Shout. Now, for those of us who have seen Sinners, if you are at all involved in the book community or follow anyone in the book community and they saw Sinners, they probably recommended this book to you to read if you liked the movie Sinners. I went to go see the movie Sinners opening night. When I was in the theaters watching it, I leaned over to my friend and I was like, because he's also a reader, and I leaned over to him and I was like, you know what book this reminds me of? Ring Shout. Have you ever read that book before? He was like, no. I was like, you got to read this book. It was so crazy because afterwards, I saw this book being recommended so much. In this book, we have some badass women hunting down these clan folks, and the clan are actual monsters. We know that they're monsters, right? But they're actual monsters. Yeah, like demons. So I will read this again. This little tiny book was so powerful. P. Djeli Clark is such an amazing writer. So yeah, read this. Read this. This is so amazing. Next, we have World War Z. This is a zombie apocalypse story. But in this story, there's someone, and he or she, I can't remember, I read this one so long ago, is traveling all over the world, basically taking account of how different people handle the zombie outbreak. So it's written in like interview format. He goes to China. He or she goes to China. I'm pretty sure it's a man interviewing all these people. Tibet, Greece. And you're getting all of these firsthand accounts about what people were doing when the zombie apocalypse broke out, how people reacted, how people were surviving, how people were fighting back. It is simply amazing storytelling. The movie is nothing like this book. So if you think, oh, I watched the movie, I don't need to read this book, you need to read this book if you like zombies, because the movie is nothing like this book. Nothing at all. I actually would have preferred if instead of making a movie, they would have made it into a TV show, and you see this journalist or whatever each episode going to visit these different locations and interviewing these people. They should have made it like a mockumentary, like a documentary, a fake documentary television show. I think it would have been great if they would have did it like that. But all we got was the movie, so whatever. Next, we have I Am Legend. This is another book that's nothing like the fucking movie. Well, more like the movie than World War Z, I'll say. I'll give it that. But a lot of differences between the movie and the book. This is a vampire story. The vampires in this story, I think, are more creepier than the ones that they showed us in the movie. In fact, in the movie, at first, I don't even know that they're vampires. They kind of look like zombies until we notice that they can't go out in the sun. Tender is the Flesh. This was the first book that I read with my adult book club, and this really like set the bar high. This is a story about how people no longer consume animal meat. Instead, they harvest and farm and consume humans. What the fuck? And the shit that happens in this book, I don't even want to like go too far deep into it because I don't want to spoil anything. This book is amazing. That ending was shocking. I mean, have you seen Daybreakers? How they had humans like lined up in a facility like they do cattle? That's what Tender is the Flesh is. Yeah. Ooh, Children of the Dark. One of my book friends sent me this book, and I'm so happy. I freaking love this book. It was exciting from beginning to end. It kind of gave me like a whole like Stranger Things, like old school horror type of vibe. And it was incredible. The writing, and there's a sequel, and for some reason I thought I had bought the sequel and I didn't. So I will be purchasing that soon and reading it this year. I might reread this actually before I read the second one. In this story, we have like a boy. He's got a troubled home life, and he also has to deal with like bullies. There's a serial killer on the loose, and there's like monsters or something else on the fucking loose. And when I tell you this shit picks up and doesn't put you down. I love this book so much. All the characters were so like defined. I felt like I knew these people. And if you want to read a book about a town being just horrified, this one will do it for you. Yes, 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 yes. I definitely will be reading. I'm going to reread this fucking book. I just made up my mind. I'm going to reread this. And then I'm going to read part 2. Children of the Motherfucking Dark. Also one of my faves from this pile. I mean, I boo-hoo cried like a fucking baby to the point where I almost had to pull over in traffic because I was driving, listening to the audiobook, and I couldn't see because my eyes were full of tears. The Kite Runner. This is so gut-wrenching. I don't know how people read this book and don't feel nothing after reading it. I've seen some reviewers like, oh, you know, just shrug it off. How are you able to read this and don't feel nothing? Because I can still feel the pain, okay, talking about it. Like this one, oh my God. I don't even really know how to describe this. The main character, when he was growing up in his country, he had a best friend. And years later, he's got to go back to save his best friend's son, I believe. Oh, I mean, oh my God. They go through all the years. We find out all these secrets, and it's just so emotional. Like, you just want a happy fucking ending. It's so much happening. It's just heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. But there's still so much light in the midst of all this heartbreak. This is a book everybody should read. I'm going to just leave it at that. We're down to my last 3 favorites, and one of them is The Silent Patient. What the fuck? What the fuck? That plot twist? That plot twist, though. In this story, we have a woman. I think she's like in a facility, right? Because she was accused of killing her husband. And then she just stopped talking. So I think she's like in like a mental facility or something. And when you find out the motherfucking truth, you just gonna be like, what? I'm pretty sure I'm missing some books from this pile because didn't I read Razor Blade Tears in this pile? It should be here because I physically own that book. Well, it'll have to be in the next pile. But if Razor Blade Tears does belong in this pile of books, it's definitely a favorite. And if so, I'll talk about it in part 2 of this video. Y the Last Man. And this is the start of a story about how every male drops dead on planet Earth. Because all the men drop dead except for this man and his pet monkey. And so that makes him a huge target. There are some women that are trying to, you know, who he come across who try to help him. And then there are other women who do not want to see the male species return. And he is a threat to them. And so they are hunting him down. And this shit is good as hell. That's all I'm going to say. I didn't know this was a goddamn TV show. One of my book club members, I was talking to her about this book, and she said, I think that's a TV show. And then I Googled it, and yes, it is a TV show. So I will be watching it. Lastly, we have Preacher. This is another show that I need to finish watching. This one is just balls to the wall crazy. I don't even know how to condensely describe this book. Jesse, he's the preacher. He has some sort of gift. I think it got inside of him, and it provided him with like these special abilities. There's somebody hunting down this heavenly being or whatever that got inside of him. In the story, we find out about Jesse's like tortured past. I mean, just disgusting things that happened to this child and his family. It was hard to read. It was hard to read. A lot of trigger warnings for this one. Lots of trigger warnings. But it was so emotional, and I will be reading the rest of it. We follow Jesse on this whole journey, basically. It's a story of good and evil, basically. I mean, I don't know how to describe this shit. I'm telling y'all, I don't know how to describe this shit. It was crazy. Crazy. I did enjoy it, but it was a hard read. And yeah, I can't wait to read the rest of these. All right, those were some of my favorite books from this pile. Now let's talk about some of my favorite book covers from this pile. All right, some of my favorite covers from this pile are the 1619 Project Born on the Water. I follow this artist on Instagram, and I am just in love with their artwork. And so that cover is their artwork, and all the illustrations in here is their artwork, and it's just beautiful. Like, so talented. Also, I talked about this book already, but The Last Quintista, I love the cover of this book as well. There's a lot of details in this cover that are explored in the book. And because I was born in 87 and grew up in the 90s, this cover is very like nostalgic for me, and that is my best friend's exorcism. The way it looks like an old-fashioned VHS tape, like VHS box. Yes, I grew up with VHSs and VCRs. I still have a VCR. I still have tons of VHS tapes. So yeah, this is like so old school, and I freaking love it. And lastly, my last favorite cover is Shelter for the Damned. I just love like this glowing red light here, and how this house has like this creepy face on the side. Like, I love this cover. I didn't love the book, but the cover is to die for. I'm now going to show you which books from this pile were actually book club books. So first up, The Last Quintista. I've mentioned this one twice already. This was my children's book club pick. And some of the books from this pile that I read with my adult book club that I physically have here with me are In My Dreams, I Hold a Knife, The Exorcist House, The Exorcist House 2, Genesis, When the Reckoning Comes, House of Hunger, and Tender is the Flesh. All right, so that is all the stats I have for you. Next up, I'm just going to run through these books really, really quickly. So this is going to be like a montage, basically, of all 83 books I have here. First up, the only memoir I read, and nonfiction book, The Diary of a Young Girl, Anne Frank. For contemporary / realistic fiction, I have We All Looked Up, The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things, Inheritance, a visual poem, and Chlorine Sky. For historical fiction, we have The Kite Runner, The Bluest Eye, Breath, Eyes, Memory, and 1864, Meet Addie, An American Girl. For children's picture books, I have the 1619 Project Born on the Water, The Talking Eggs, Little People, Big Dreams, Aretha Franklin, Fresh Princess, Don't Touch My Hair, I Am Every Good Thing, The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read, Joshua's Maasai Mask, Early Sunday Morning, Your Legacy, A Bold Reclaiming of Our Enslaved History, Hey You, An Empowering Celebration of Growing Up Black, Sisters and Champions, The True Story of Venus and Serena Williams, I Am Enough, Trying, It Fell from the Sky, Hair Love, All Because You Matter, Your Name is a Song, and Parker Looks Up. In the thriller category, I have The Silent Patient, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, The Chain, Home Before Dark, Survive the Night, Midnight on Beacon Street, There's Someone Inside Your House, and Hidden Bodies. In the sci-fi / fantasy category, we have The Last Quintista, Frankenstein, Why the Last Man, Book 1, Elevation, The Black God's Drums, Parasite, Birthright, Volume 1, Superman vs. Aliens, Sweet Tooth, Book 1, Snowpiercer, the prequel, Part 1, Extinction, Skyward, Volume 1, Skyward, Volume 2, and Skyward, Volume 3. A Game of Thrones, Dead Silence, Cinder, Dreamfall, and The Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste. Finally, the horror section. I Am Legend, World War Z, Ring Shout, Tender is the Flesh, My Best Friend's Exorcism, Shelter for the Damned, Children of the Dark, Preacher, Book 1, House of Hunger, When the Reckoning Comes, The Exorcist House Part 2, Genesis, The Exorcist House, The Walking Dead, Volume 6, This Sorrowful Life, Tales from the Crypt, Volume 1, Gwendy's Button Box, The Walking Dead, Volume 7, The Calm Before, Lock and Key, Welcome to Lovecraft. Is this Volume 1 or Book 1? It just says number 1. Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, number 4. Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, number 3. Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, number 2. And Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, number 1. The Waking, Dreams In, Volume 2. The Waking, Volume 1. Certain Dark Things, The Forest of Hands and Teeth, Blanky. Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven and Other Tales, a graphic novel. Nothing But Blackened Teeth. Finally, The Tent by Keelan Patrick Burke. Oh my God. And that is not even all the books, y'all. But finally, I can get all of those books, stored back on my shelves. Oh my God. If you'd like to let me know what you thought of any of these books, I would love to continue a conversation with you down in the comment section. As always, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I will see you guys in my next one.